Alright, so, Far Cry Primal is a game about survival. A brutal world where you scavenge, hunt, and fight your way to the top of the food chain. But what if you could explode your way to the top? What if instead of spears or clubs, we replaced those with bombs? Today, we're asking the question no one, not even the developers, have considered. Can you beat Far Cry Primal on Survivor difficulty with only bombs? In the game Far Cry Primal, there are three bomb types: the Sting Bomb, the Berserk Bomb, and the Fire Bomb. The Sting Bomb just unleashes a horde of bees, and it'll insta-kill most human enemies. However, it cannot deal any damage to human enemies or animals, sometimes. The Berserk Bomb makes human enemies enraged, and they attack any other thing that they see in sight, and other human enemies will prioritize attacking them. However, when it's used on animals, it just makes them flee away from you. The Fire Bomb is the most self-explanatory. It just creates a big cloud of fire. With a general understanding of what bombs are out of the way, let's get on to the rules of the run. The first rule is I cannot use any weapons of any type to injure any enemy other than throwable bombs. This does mean I cannot use throwing shards or bait. Additionally, I cannot use my club or bow. However, there are a few times where I just have to continue the run. Second rule is no pets. I cannot use any beasts or animals of any kind to help me, and this includes the owl throwing bombs. However, this wasn't really an option because you can't use the owl to throw bombs on Survivor difficulty anyway. With the rules out of the way, I'm going to reinstate what I believe to be beating the game Far Cry Primal, because the game does not have an established ending. Beating the game in my eyes is killing both of the leaders, Battery and Ull, and killing the giant blood-tusk mammoth. Once I do all three of these tasks, I consider the game beaten and the run complete. And with all of that out of the way, let's finally begin. The story starts, and it's the usual stuff of just trying to hunt the mammoth with your hunting party, and nothing really unique happens here other than the fact that I can't attack the mammoth because I don't have any bombs yet. So it's just a lot of sitting around, but eventually they kill them without my help. So I can move on to the next section and get the cutscene with the saber-toothed tiger. And after celebrating our short-lived victory, the saber-toothed tiger comes out of nowhere and attacks us. And luckily, me and one of my Wenja brothers are able to escape it, but we have to make the risky decision of diving down a cliff. And unfortunately, he does not make it. And here's where we meet our first hurdle, this early into the run. Because it is here that you're supposed to get the tutorial of how hunting in this game works, and you're supposed to hunt 3 goats. However, I cannot hunt 3 goats without bombs, and I haven't learned how to make bombs yet. So I cannot hunt these 3 goats. But in order to progress in the game, I have to hunt them, which means I have to break the rules of this run almost instantly. So this is basically a failure of a run, but let's go on anyway. After hunting the goats, I lit a nearby fire and made a torch out of a club that I will never use as a weapon, and fended off some wolves as I tried to take shelter from the saber-toothed tiger that's currently hunting me. I then took shelter in a nearby cave, only to find out that the saber-toothed tiger was there, and it's also there that I meet another Wenja, a gatherer whose name was Scylla, who was aggressive towards me. However, I saved her life from the saber-tooth. After saving her life, I help her treat her wounds by finding some green leaf that's down by the river and using it as a bandage to cover up her scratch marks. And then after a brief conversation with her, she tells me that it's time to go find the rest of the Wenja and reinstall our tribe. And just like that, tutorial is now over, and then it's time to go talk to Tensei the Shaman and do the quest for him. And it's the quest of going and learning how to tame all the beasts, but I'm never going to use any of these beasts, so this quest is basically useless, but let's move on. And the quest involves me finding some hunters with my owl, and then killing the hunters, and then making bait, and then taming another wild creature, and then killing the other hunters. It was also here that I decided that I should be allowing takedowns because A, this quest was basically impossible without allowing takedowns, and B, there is a takedown in the skill tree that involves bombs, so I feel like I should allow it. However, I just really don't think it's going to be that big of a deal to allow takedowns because I will still be using mainly bombs in combat. Then I arrive back home, talk to Tinsei and Scylla, and build both of their huts. And then after a brief conversation with Scylla, and a weapon that I will never use that she gave me, the Uram decided that it was the perfect time to come attack my village. And this part was only easy because sting bombs insta-kill enemies. If they didn't, this would be way harder, but this wasn't that bad. And after defending my village, it was time to go take the fight to them. So I was going to go to one of their villages and tear down a bunch of bone trees that they have standing up. And I decided to recruit Wuga first because he can give me different upgrades for my bombs and he can help me carry more sting bombs. So I did the first quest for him, I did the second quest for him, and then I recruited him into my village. And then I just had to build his hut, and I was able to build different types of new ways to carry more bombs and ways to craft more bombs. So with him, this became a lot easier. And then I went to go recruit Jaima, the hunter, but there was a big problem here. In order to finish this quest, you need to kill a bear. And if you remember from earlier, I can't harm any animals with my sting bombs. So I'm gonna have to wait until I get at least the fire bomb to actually do anything in this quest, to actually recruit Jaima. So I have to unlock that before I can even consider unlocking her as a person in my tribe. So for now, I have to move on. Returning back to the village, I had a conversation with Tensei about the Uram and how they struggle with surviving just as we do. After completing this quest, I can go recruit Da of the Uram, who will give me a new bomb, the Berserk Bomb. So I get a new weapon for my arsenal. After that, I did the first quest to recruit Karush so he could teach me some skills about takedowns. And this was pretty easy. It's just taking down a few guys with my sting bombs. It's only like 8 people that you have to kill and the quest is over. And while I was still in the north, I also decided to go get Da of the Uram so that way I could get my Berserk bombs. And his was relatively simple. You just clear out everyone in the fort other than him, and then I basically just throw B-bombs at him until he dies. For some reason I thought B-bombs couldn't harm chieftain enemies, but they did actually do damage here, and I'm not sure why. After bringing Da back home, I return after a few days to check up on him, and I find that Scylla and a bunch of other Wenja tribals have taken him to go kill him by tying him down and letting him drown. So I have to save him before they kill him because I need to learn how to make those bombs. And it's just as simple as plugging up a few holes and then the water stops and I've saved Da's life. And after finishing that quest for Da, while I was still in the area, I also decided to do the quest for Wuga, where you just climb to the top of the cliff and then jump down. And that was pretty simple. After I got back, I built Da's hut, and I got the first quest for him after building his hut, which is to go follow a Uram woman who can help temporarily cure the disease he has called Skullfire. And I just have to follow her and get some bone dust from her. It's a really simple fetch quest, and I got it over with really quickly. And, okay, we're at our next roadblock. In order to progress in the main story and get the next bomb type that I can actually use to actually kill animals, I have to progress through the main storyline, which is doing quests for Scylla and Tinsei. But I can't do this next quest for Scylla because you need to kill a bunch of cave lions and a saber-toothed tiger that's in this cave. And I can't do that with sting bombs or berserk bombs. So I have to resort to just killing them with my club. So unfortunately, this is another part that you just cannot get past without having to break the rules of the run. But let's move on anyway. After that, I immediately go over to Teensay for the next quest so that way I can get fire bombs as soon as possible. And he informs me what the Azila are about and how they're burning a bunch of members of our tribe. I then went to go do the next quest for Teensay, which is to go take my revenge because the Azila are burning all our tribe members, to go burn down one of their villages and free a bunch of our tribe members. So I free all of our tribe members and I start burning their place down. And everything went mostly normal until I tried to leave when I get intercepted by an Azila member. And I meet the leader of the Azila, Battery, who believes that Wenja really only exists to serve the Azila. And she tries to throw me to my death, but I live and manage to escape this village and return back to the Wenja village to inform them what the Azila are doing. Upon returning home, I talk to Teensay about what had happened, and he informs me that soon enough I will have to fight her, so I should ready myself for taking her down and the Azila. However, before I could progress further in the main quest, it was time to go take down Roshani, so that way I could actually get fire bombs and do a bunch of the quests that I haven't been able to do yet. And Roshani was definitely a lot harder to take down than Ul, especially because there are a lot more people defending him, and his camp is a lot more open, and there's just way too many people to stealth around and take them all down. So luckily, I'm able to take down people with my sting bombs or with my takedowns, and whoever I decide not to take down, I throw a berserk bomb at, and then they will attack Roshani, dealing damage to him for me, because for some reason B-bombs won't deal damage to him, even though they dealt damage to Daw. But the people that I throw the berserk bombs at will deal a bunch of damage to him. And this took a couple tries, but luckily I was able to kill him, and I was able to get him as a tribe member, and I was able to get his fire bombs. Then I took Roshani back, did a couple quests for him, and then built his hut, and I was able to get his fire bombs. And these were such a game changer. They do a bunch of damage, and you can carry up to 8 of them. Normally with my other bombs, I can only carry a max of 2. These really changed the game for me, and it made it so much easier for me, especially because now I can finally do quests that I wasn't able to do before. Like the quest for Jaima, which I need to do in order to beat the game, because I have to get the quest to kill the Bloodtusk Mammoth from her. But first, it was time to do some quests for Roshani, so that way I could build his hut and get his fire bombs and some of the perks that I need for him. The first quest that I have to do for him involves me going and finding some seeds because the Azila are agricultural people, and I don't know, honestly, I have no clue. He just wants seeds, so I'm gonna get him seeds. Returning back to the village, I built Roshani's hut, and finally I can have fire bombs and the perks that I need to do Jaima's quest. Returning to Jaima once again, I start the quest for her to go get the bear, I go hunt for the bear, and then it's time to go fight the bear. And I'm able to use my fire bombs, and it only takes a couple until the bear goes down, and I complete the quest. Returning back home, I build Jaima's hut, and I can unlock more quests for her, including the Great Beast quest, which means I can finally knock off one of the main 3 points that is required for me to beat the game. The next quest for Jaima was to go fight the Tall Elk, and if you didn't watch my last video, Tall Elk's always glitched on Survivor difficulty, so this one was pretty easy. However, I discovered that the Tall Elk actually doesn't get affected by any bombs of any kind whenever it's frozen like this. So I also had to use my club here, breaking the rules of the run once again. And the very next quest for Jaima is to go hunt the great beasts of Uros. So finally I can go beat the Bloodtusk Mammoth and finally wipe off one of the points that I need to wipe off in order to beat the game. Also, a weird thing happened here. I don't think I've ever had a Far Cry game crash on me, but in the middle of this fight, my game crashed, so I had to restart it. Moving on to the Blood Tusk Mammoth fight, it really wasn't that entertaining, and I didn't really use my bombs here because I counted the traps and the geysers and the icebergs that I could shoot down to deal damage to the mammoth. So I didn't really use my bombs. I used the environment to take him down, and this wasn't that hard. And now it's time for the cutscene that's for some reason always glitched, but finally, one of the points is checked off. Now we have 2 to go. Going back onto the village, I talk with Tinsei and have visions about the Azila and what they struggle with. He informs me that I need to go get the karate to stop Bashiri and hopefully put an end to the Azila. After talking with Tinsei, I went to go talk with Sila to progress the main story, and Sila tells me about this antidote that she knows about that would allow me to enter the Udam homeland and take the fight to Ol. So I'm off to go get the antidote from the rare yellow north leaf. And as I go to collect the yellow leaf, I randomly get ambushed by the Udam, and I get taken captive by Ol, and luckily enough, I'm able to escape quickly through a bunch of cave systems. And I could just run past everyone here. I didn't kill a single person other than the one person that you're required to kill, that is the Cave Guardian. But I just killed him with a bunch of sting bombs and maybe a couple fire bombs. It was really easy. Returning back home, Sila is not surprised to see me, as I returned to her and she gave me the recipe to make the antidote, so I can finally make my way into the Udam land to take down Ol. Arrive at the entrance to the Udam land, take my antidote, and it's time to make my fight over to Ol. After fighting my way to Ol's cave, I finally arrive at Ol, shoot the icicle above his head, and I just repeat this process over and over again, along with throwing the occasional berserk bomb to make the people that are defending him go crazy and start attacking him. And this fight was over before I knew it. After Ol realizes he's been defeated by the technology of bombs, he cowers in fear and decides that his last chance to get out of this is to threaten a child's life. Luckily, another child that's nearby is able to convince him to not do that, and he gives me the toddler and the baby, tells me to take care of both of them, and I bring them all back to my tribe, and we celebrate the death of Ol and checking off another check mark on my list. After the death of Ol, next up on my list is Battery, and I go talk to Tinsei because he probably knows the best how to defeat Battery, and he tells me where the location of the karate most likely is, as it will be a key component of taking down Battery and striking fear in the Azila, making sure they will never terrorize the Wenja again. So, I need to go get the karate from a cave and bring it back to Tinsei. Then after stealthing my way through the little cave that the karate is held in, I manage to go steal it, but Battery almost catches me. However, just in time, I'm able to dive off a cliff and hang off of it while Battery is unaware of my location. Then, I'm able to escape from the cave, make my way back to Tinsei, so we can plan the downfall of Battery. After talking to Tinsei, we decide that it's finally time to go take the fight to Battery, so I enter the Azila homeland, round up a couple Wenja tribe members, and then we make our way into Battery's fort. And once again, I also didn't feel like doing this fight, so I just did the glitch where you're able to get around Battery instead of having to fight her with her shooting arrows at you the entire time, doing the stupid long-range fight that's just really tedious. So I managed to get behind her, do a takedown, and I tried to do the grenade takedown on her here for, extra style points, but for some reason it just wouldn't let me do it. But basically, I took down Battery, which means I beat the game and proved, no, you cannot beat Far Cry Primal with only bombs. This run was... It wasn't that hard. Honestly, it wasn't that bad. The biggest hurdle for me was the early game where you only have the sting bombs, and you can't really do anything against, like, creatures or chieftains, so you have to do a bunch of resource farming to get better bombs. But in order to get better bombs, you need to kill all the creatures and chieftains that you can't kill. So basically, I just had to wander around the map for like a collective total of like 8 hours, just gathering stuff from like hunter stashes, so that way I could get enough cave bear skin or elk skin or leopard skin, so that way I could build the huts and make the bombs and make the satchels to make bombs to carry more bombs. And a lot of the perks really weren't that useful in this run. Like, I thought the perks that would allow you to do better takedowns, the perks that would be allowing you to get more resources out of stuff, I thought those would really carry me, but those weren't all that good. Regardless, that marks the end of this run, and I have no idea how I'm gonna end this video, so bye, I guess.